What's up, everyone? This is ZeldDestroyer229, and welcome to the information video on the second round of the 2,000 subscriber special. The nomination phase has concluded, and at the end, about 113 games were nominated to be part of this special. Overall, it's kind of a lower number than I was really expecting, especially since there's quite a few games that were carried over from kind of games that I nominated, as well as additional games that, even after I gave that list of 13, Child of the Fallout and Overlord also recommended a hefty chunk of games. So I was actually kind of surprised at how small the list was this time around. But in the end, like I mentioned, 113 games were nominated to be this special. So, how exactly are we going to narrow this list down? Well, that's where the voting comes in. Voting this time around will be very similar to how it was for the 1,000 subscriber special. Now, if you forgot or you weren't there for that, basically, the games are split into 5 categories. And the top 2 games of these categories will compete in a final round of voting. And the winner of that final round will become the 2,000 subscriber special. Now, the games this time around didn't quite fall under categories as neat as, say, last time. So the way that I decided to divvy up which games pitted off against each other for the initial polling was through a good old random number generator. Using that, as well as assigning each game a numerical number, I was able to categorize every single game into one of 5 categories. Now, from that, I was able to basically put together some titles for these games, so that it wasn't just poll 1, poll 2, poll 3. These titles don't necessarily represent every single game that's part of its category, but it does give you a general idea as to what exactly is in each of these categories. And I just wanted to share with you guys just what these categories are, and so you know what to expect for when the polls actually begin. And I'll also even give a few examples of games that are part of these polls, kind of a sneak preview as to what to expect. The first poll that will be conducted is titled Past, Present, Future. These games tend to be grounded a little bit closer into reality, whether it's more fantasy-based but still kind of Earth-like, present day, or even into science-fictional future. A couple examples of these games include Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night, Life is Strange, and Mass Effect. The second poll is titled Incoming Foe. These games tend to focus very heavily on more combat, whether you're facing off against a ton of enemies at once, or they're just really difficult games and it's just relentless enemies, or just really strong enemies that you have to face off against. Some examples of this category include Cuphead, Dark Souls, and Prey. The third round of polling is titled Two Worlds. Now, this means one of 2 different things. The first is that the game is split into basically 2 different versions of itself. Whether it's like a real world and a mirror world, or that there's just an alternate reality. The other is that the games generally fall into either very realistic or very much fantasy. And a couple of examples of games in this category are Castlevania, Symphony of the Night, Dishonored, and Yakuza 0. The fourth round of polling is titled Darkness Reigns. This category tends to focus a lot more on heavier subject matter, whether that deals with death, the apocalypse, war, or generally just have darkness as a central theme. Some examples of this poll include Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne, Nier Automata, and Metal Gear Solid. Finally, the last round of polling is titled Guns and Magic. This title kind of similar to Two Worlds, in which it's generally a bit of a hybrid between games that heavily emphasizes gunplay or heavily emphasizes magic. Or in a lot of cases, both, to be honest. A couple of examples of games in this category include Final Fantasy VI, Wolfenstein: The New Order, and Trials of Mana. So how the polls are going to work is that each of these polls will be given 3 days of voting. There will be a video introducing every single game and giving a short summary as well as an opinion section. And alongside that video, there will be a link in the description, and that link will take you to the poll itself. When you reach the poll, you'll be asked to vote for 2 games. Unlike last time where it was basically just a list, and I was just kind of leaving it up to, well, the honor system as to whether or not you guys would vote for 2, and if you didn't, then vote wouldn't count. Instead, there will be 2 questions asked, basically saying which game do you want from the category, and a second one saying which other game in the category do you want to pick. And if you pick the same game twice, then your vote will be disqualified. But there will also be an option to just simply pick one game, if you're only interested in one and you don't want to give an edge to another title. The polling is going to be a lot shorter compared to the 1,000 subscriber special. Last time I gave a week, but this time I'm going to narrow it down to 3 days. Because honestly, 3 days was about the length of time that everyone got their votes in. And there wasn't really much voting with the remainder days in any of the old polls. And when it came to nominations, that trend seems to continue. So I'm going to try to narrow down the voting window. That does mean that you'll want to come back often just to see when the new poll comes up, because when one poll ends, another one will begin. This also means that it's going to be a little while until the first poll begins. I'll give an update a couple days before the first poll goes up, just so you guys are aware. But these polls are going to happen back to back to back. This does mean that I will need additional time before the first poll goes up. I will give a bit of a kind of a heads up video. Basically saying, hey, the first poll will begin on this day, and then once that poll ends, the next one will begin pretty much immediately. Because of this shorter window, I am going to need a little bit more time so I can gather the information I'm going to need in order to give the basic summary, as well as just making these videos. And so it's gonna be a little while before the first poll actually goes up. At the earliest, and what I'm shooting for, is sometime about a month from now, around mid-September. That's at least where I'm aiming for the first poll to go live. That's not exactly set in stone, that's just my goal. I would like to have at least 3, preferably 4 of these videos done before the first poll even goes live, because only 3 days until the next video comes out, and there's a lot that actually kind of goes into gathering these information videos. So kind of be on the lookout for that in the upcoming month or so. But I do need to gather this video together, that way you guys aren't just trying to piece together, well, what exactly this game is, if this game seems interesting, and basically make sure that each game has its own fair shot at your vote. Again, you will have 2 votes to use per poll, and the final vote, also, you will have 2 votes. Just be sure that you do not vote for the same game twice in order to try to bump up its odds. Your vote will be disqualified if you try to do that. So that is basically all that I wanted to let you guys know about. I just wanted to let you know what the categories are and kind of the state as to where the polling process is right now. I do need a little bit more time in order to get the first poll ready, but when it is, expect a heads up video before the polling officially starts. So, until next time everyone, take care.